So first, let me start off this video by saying that I originally was going to record this with my mic, but even though I charged my mic all last night, it still does not want to charge, and it still did not want to accept the fact that it needs to be paired. So we finna record this video like this, because why not?
Put my faith in God. I'll 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 put my faith in God. So tell me where you wanna go. I wanna get to heaven.
It's your girl Diana, and welcome back, or welcome if you're not new here, to my channel. For today's video, we are going to talk about a TV show that is very near and dear to my heart. Why? Because this is my channel and because I can. And that TV show is Phineas and Ferb. But before we get into the video, if you are new here, or if you're just a silent viewer, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And when you press that subscribe button, make sure you turn on that post notification bell so you do not miss a single video that I post. I'm going to try my hardest to get better and on a more consistent schedule. That is something that I struggle with, but that's a video for another day. Yeah, with that being said, let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, may I present to you a spectacle most of the morning in the making. The coolest coaster ever!
So for those of you that have never watched or even heard of Phineas and Ferb, Phineas and Ferb was a show on Disney Channel, and I believe also Disney XD, that ran for 4 seasons from 2007 till 2015, and then recently it got rebooted for its 5th and final season in 2025. And I'm only going to be talking about the first 4 seasons of this show because those are the seasons that I grew up on and those are the seasons that I know and love. Granted, this is a very old show, so a lot of these references that are made in this show may not make a lot of sense to people who are, say, younger than me or just haven't been around a lot of older pop culture. So I say let's just talk. So the first character that we're going to be talking about is one of the title characters, Phineas Flynn, who is if I remember correctly, he's the younger brother, or at least the twin brother of Ferb, who we'll talk about later. But Phineas is this 11 to 12-year-old extremely smart kid, like unnecessarily smart if you ask me. Like, homeboy is out here building roller coasters in the first episode and is not even old enough to get a driver's license yet. Not even a driver's license. Homeboy ain't even old enough to get a permit. Think about that. Homeboy is not even old enough to get a learner's permit to drive a car, and he is able to engineer an entire roller coaster and a track and everything in between. Like, how?
How, Sway? Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man.
Now, I would also like to preface this video by saying that if you thought that this video was going to be a 110% thorough breakdown of any lore for Phineas and Ferb, that is semi going to be the case and also not going to be the case at the same time. What I mostly want to talk about when it comes to Phineas and Ferb, specifically when it comes to Phineas, is the fact that Phineas is a certified adrenaline junkie. And I think no one talks about this enough. Because why was Phineas 11 years old, and as soon as they get to the top of the roller coaster, in the first episode, by the way, they get to the top of the roller coaster, he looks back and he's like, "You all signed the waivers, right?" Dog, what? It's the first day of summer. It's the first day of summer, and you go out of your way, out of your adrenaline addicted way, to tell me you signed the waivers, right? When I'm already on the roller coaster? not even gonna lie, I would have crashed out on Phineas right there. I would have crashed out on Phineas right at the top of that roller coaster. As soon as he asked me that, I would have been like, now you really thought, like, yes, I signed a waiver. That's why I'm freaking on here. That's why y'all let me on this roller coaster. But then you got the audacity to ask me as we're literally about to go down the deepest and steepest drop on a roller coaster that I've ever seen, both in real life and on television. Now, you ask me now? On top of being a major adrenaline junkie, let's also talk about how Phineas was, besides maybe Doofenshmirtz, was a certified crash out throughout most of the show. Especially in like the second season. For some reason, like the last, like between season 2 and season 3, that's when Phineas was just like, all right, I'm just finna crash out on all of y'all. Season 1, he was a bit more of like passive aggressive, but didn't really crash out on people. Phineas in season 2, especially towards the end for Summer Belongs to You, which gave us the most iconic crash out of all time, Mr. Get on the Trike. Yeah, homeboy was just a certified crash out. But I love that because it was the first time that I really ever saw a 12-year-old crash out validly, if that makes sense. Like, Phineas was so much of a crash out to the point where there are literal compilations on YouTube and on TikTok to literally show you just how much this little middle school boy crashed out in nearly every single episode. At one point in time, not every single episode, more like every 3 to 4 episodes, but most of the time, it was valid. It was a valid crash out, I'm not gonna lie. Because if I'm trying to make it home before sundown, and you over here, as my older sister, not getting on a tricycle that is literally going to help you get to where we need to be before sundown, then yeah, I'm shouting and get on the trike. Cause what the heck? I'm shouting and get on the trike. I don't blame him for that. I really don't. And on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have the stepbrother of Phineas Flynn, otherwise known as Ferb Fletcher, or Ferbs Fletcher, as you may have found out that Ferb is short for Ferbs, which is not even like a really good like name to really have short. You could have just named the man Ferb. Just saying. Dan Povenmire, Jeff Marsh, if you're watching this, if you end up finding this video, I don't believe that you will, but if you do end up finding this video, Ferbs, like that's the short version of it. You just take out the S and it's Ferb. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to like nicknames for just like extremely long names, or like, I don't know. Or maybe it's just because I'm black. Maybe it's just because I'm black. Who knows? But moving swiftly on, Ferb is the equally talented, slightly more reserved stepbrother of Phineas Flynn, who is the other title character in this show. And personally speaking, I always kind of liked Ferb. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I always kind of liked Ferb, but I also kind of didn't like Ferb. I didn't really like how quiet he was growing up, because as somebody who is very quiet, yes, I know, shocking, do not let this loudmouth confuse you. I am very much an introvert. I am very much will sit here, be quiet, look pretty all day if I want to. I don't like talking to people that don't really talk to me, unless you're like my friends or my man. That's pretty much it. But that's a topic for another video. Essentially, Ferb is equally smart, equally as talented as Phineas. And I feel like Ferb doesn't get a lot of credit for a lot of things in the show, because I feel like Phineas kind of is the brains behind the operation, where he's the one that gets, you know, like all the parts going. He's the one that really handles all the business and the finance transactions. But Ferb is really the main engineer. Not saying that Phineas can't build, but Ferb really be the main one putting in that elbow grease. If we really keep it in a buck, he the main one that be putting in that elbow grease. And I'm gonna need y'all to stop sleeping on my boy. Ferb Fletcher. Okay, I'm gonna need y'all to stop sleeping on him. Not to mention, probably the main thing that Ferb gets credit for is barely having any lines throughout most of the show and still managing to somehow pull one of the baddest women in animated history behind, an animated Disney history behind Shigo and maybe like Helen from The Incredibles, and that is Vanessa Dupenschmertz. Honestly speaking, I could go on a whole rant about Vanessa, but she finna be talked about later on in this video, so I'm gonna just save it for now. But just know that me and Vanessa, the older I got, the more I understood. The older I got, the more I understood Vanessa. I'm not gonna hold you. Now we have the oldest sibling of the Flynn Fletcher family, Candace Flynn. Voiced by Ashley Tisdale, one of the most iconic actresses in Disney history. I mean, come on. Miss Sharpay Evans, she did her big one. She did her big one for that. Okay, let's give her a 10. Candace was always a very interesting character to me growing up because part of me wanted to be her growing up because I wanted to be the one that was just like, what's going on? Like being the main one to like catch somebody in some craziness. Because granted, if I was a teenager, like if I was in high school and I had younger brothers and they was out here doing all of this crazy stuff in the backyard and somehow not getting caught, I too would have crashed out a little bit and been like, bruh, ain't no way. Like, yeah, I'm finna call up somebody to try and bust these jokers. Cause what? Cause how did we manage to do this? How did y'all manage to do this? How are y'all even old enough to do this? What are the safety precautions here? Like, what's going on? Especially Miss Phineas, y'all signed the waivers, Flynn. Like, honestly speaking, I loved her for it because I understood her being concerned for her brothers. But at the same time, I also found her really annoying. And I guess it's because I also didn't really like Sharpay growing up because I found her really annoying. And then once I found out that Sharpay and Candace were basically the same person, I was basically just like, yeah, I got it out for you. Because why you also trying to ruin the fun? But the older I got, the more I understood, like, okay, she's trying to look out for her brothers. But at the same time, even now, as a 20-year-old going on 21, I understand why Candace was also like super duper like hyper, I don't want to say hyper vigilant, but like extremely eager to like be recognized by her mom as like a reasonable adult. Not an adult, but like as somebody who is responsible. Not saying that Linda Fletcher, their mother, didn't do a good job raising Candace at all. This is not commentary on that. We not commenting on the parents this time around. But what I understood was the fact that Candace was just like, I only have like 2 friends, and my man Jeremy, who I don't even really know if he's my man or not. So yeah, I'm basically just here. And that's sad, but I also understood because in a way, I'm kind of in that position right now. I'm not gonna lie, except I know that my man is my man, but that's not the point. But to put it quite simply, Candace is another character, in my opinion, that I feel like we don't really talk about enough. I feel like we mostly just see her as this like annoying older sister that just wants to like stop the fun of Phineas and Ferb. But as I get older, I'm kind of just like, you know what? I understand why she was so productive in that regard as opposed to, you know, living her life. Because sometimes whenever you see other people live their life, you tend to forget that you also have your own. Wow, that got really deep. Hold up. Okay, Holy Spirit, dang. I did not say that, by the way. Another thing that I want to comment on, at least in regards to Candace, and I feel like this is something that I didn't realize is such a time capsule. It's unfortunately become a time capsule, but I feel like this is something that needs to be more acceptable in media, especially media that is targeted towards children, which we need more of that to begin with. But we especially need media that is targeted towards like middle school to like teenage kids that genuinely have like the teenage characters being teenagers or doing something that's a little bit cringy. Because let's keep it a buck. There were plenty of times where Candace has done something or has been in very compromising positions where she's been like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing and I don't like it. But it still works because it's a kids show. It's a kids show. It's meant for kids. It's meant to be silly. Although some of this may be a little bit more realistic than some other kids' TV, I still think it's brilliant that Candace, in my opinion, is truly one of my favorite characters in terms of writing, because she is a character that I would personally interact with. She is a character that, as much as I found her annoying as a little kid, the older that I got, I realized, okay, she's a lot like a lot of teenagers that I know. She's a lot like teenagers that I know. She's a lot like middle schoolers that I know too, even though Candace is like 16. And she does some pretty cringy things. She has some moments where she's like falling head over heels trying to impress Jeremy, even though Jeremy is just like, girl, I just like you. I like you. Like, be yourself. Be yourself. But I digress. And last but not least, we have my favorite character. One of the most underrated and also the most talked about characters in children's animated history, at least in the 21st century, Miss Vanessa Doofenshmirtz. Yeah! Round of applause, girl! Because, let's keep it a buck. Vanessa is one of those characters that I feel like everybody chalks up to being this sort of like gothic, very serious kind of character, but in actuality, I feel like her and Candace complement each other because they're two different sides of what it's like being a teenager. You have a teenager who is very self-assured in themselves, very self-assured in what they want, in their identity, in who they are, like Vanessa, but still looks for parental approval. And then you have Candace, who is extremely unsure as to what she wants in life, is extremely unsure as to what everybody around her is doing, and she feels the need to basically prove herself so much, not even just to like her mom or even like her brothers even, but she feels like she has to prove herself to herself and to her friends. There's one episode, I forgot if it's in season 1 or if it's in season 2, but there's an episode where she gets this feeling that pretty much all of her friends, or like Jeremy, which is her man, in the show basically like ignores her, or like thinks that she's like this laughingstock. And if you really look at Vanessa, even though we don't really get too much into Vanessa's psyche too much, she doesn't really have those kinds of moments. She mostly just has moments where she just feels like her dad doesn't understand her. Her father is extremely busy, like Dr. Doofenshmirtz is seen as like the main villain or antagonist in this story, and as you can see in every single episode, he's very busy, often puts his work over his daughter, and she doesn't really like that. And I completely understand that wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, I did have a parent that did that to me, but this is not a trauma dump. This is me talking about one of my favorite TV shows. And I believe that Vanessa, in my opinion, is one of those teenage characters that, although it may seem like she is this super like down to earth, she's very low energy in comparison to like say Candace, who is constantly high sprung. I feel like it gives an equal playing field. I feel like Vanessa is another one of a really good, very greatly written character, despite how little time she really has in each like season. Like, I don't think Vanessa has had more than like 7 episodes within a season where she has been featured or she's been the focus. If she has, please correct me in the comment section. But I believe that that's beautiful. And I think that seeing how Vanessa goes from feeling this need to have to prove that she's a teenager and prove that she's older now to her father, to being okay with just being like, yeah, I'm me. And I'm gonna do some things. I'm gonna have some opinions. I still love you, Dad, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And I feel like Vanessa and Dr. Doofenshmirtz have a very great father-daughter relationship, even though him and Charlene, the mother of Vanessa, although they're divorced, they still have this sort of understanding and this respect of one another, to where Vanessa can be like, yeah, you're not that bad of a dad, but oh my goodness, you do some things that are very, very questionable. You do some things that are questionable. But overall, Vanessa as a character in this show, Vanessa is who I aspire to be. I aspire to be this self-assured in myself, to where I can look at my parents and be like, yeah, like, you weren't terrible, but you weren't that good either. Like, you're still stuck on the fact that I'm a little girl and I'm older now, you know? And with that, it concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video had a bit of a script, but not really. I mostly just tried to just talk like I would talk to a friend for this video. That's something that I'm trying to work on, with being more comfortable on camera, being more comfortable just talking in general about my favorite things. And yeah, I pray that I see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for commenting. If you'd like to donate to this ministry of hard work, if you'd like to donate to this ministry of just generally being just fun, then you may do so on Cash App. I will leave the link in the description below, and I'll see you next time.